Welcome back, everybody, to my channel, Spiritual Devil, where I basically provide the details, the devil's in the details, right? Where I basically provide the details of a journey that is absolutely transformative. If you've ever run into a situation where you were feeling out of energy, out of hope, out of time, out of compassion, out of love, where you've basically run out, one of the things that you can do is to restore all of those things within yourself. And in so doing, you're going to rekindle those things among other people. Now, on this channel, I just want to start out right off the bat with this bit of information so that we can immediately discourage all of the needless banter and communication that's not achieving anything. On this channel, for quite some time now, I've talked about some of the personal experiences that I've been going through, which include, but are not limited to, the fact that one of my own direct family members burned down their house and then reputedly was going to set fire to themselves. And they were going to do this basically out of an act of frustration, possibly because nobody really listens to them, or so they think. Now, this particular person is what I would consider narcissistic, because they don't really even understand that their direct relative, being myself, is creating a lot of content for them specifically, so that they don't have to feel alone, so that they don't have to feel like, well, what do I do if no one's listening? So that they don't have to burn the house down. And I've asked in so many different ways for help from all of my loved ones, and even for people who I don't know, to resolve this situation. It's only been in certain instances where other people recognize the anomalies that are occurring and then try to help with those anomalies themselves. In other words, let's say, for an example, I'm a plant and I'm drying out, and because it hasn't rained for, I don't know, for the whole entire month of July or something like that. And I'm drying out, and if there's no one there to help water me because I'm rooted in that spot, then I might just perish in that place. I might just wither away. Now, let's say instead of water, it's an opposite extreme of the spectrum, and let's say it's just nonstop ravishing floods and flooding. You know, it's going to obliterate whatever it's in its pathway unless it's strongly rooted in place. Let's say it's the sun itself, just blindingly scorching the earth without any regard as to what it is that's happening. That's how nature is. And a lot of times we think of nature as not compassionate, but we don't think of ourselves the same way. Yet on this very channel, I've explained the situation that has been most draining for me on my health and well-being. And for some reason, this is not well received by anybody in my inner circles. And so that's why I'm posting this here, for you to enjoy, the viewer. As you're viewing this journey, you can backtrack through this catalog and see where I performed other 7-day vegan challenges and transformed myself. Right now, I'm not in the best condition, but I'm not in the worst condition. And just to break down my progress, I want to tell you that I've lost so far 5 pounds, which is about 2-point-something kilos. I think it's 2.3, I'm not quite sure. What I do know is that today I weigh 116.1 kilos, or 256 pounds, which is still about 30 pounds overweight. The thing about it is that since the 1st of September until now, I've lost 5 pounds. Now, what I'm going to do over these next 2 weeks is going to be refreshing for many of you who are watching and who are participating in ways that maybe aren't exactly the ways that you wanted to participate in the past. If you've wanted to help someone like me out, then maybe you can help the communication go beyond this. If you're seeing this and you know this message is for someone else, maybe you can get to show that message to somebody else. We're all mirrors in this experience that we're calling life. We're all mirrors in this experience where we get to choose whether we accept that bottle of water or that nephew or that child of yours, whether we accept the parents of ours. I accept all of it. And that doesn't mean that I need to continuously subject myself to the physical detriment that has been ongoing when people are carelessly treating others around them. So this channel is about how do we tell the truth in order to just, how do we tell the truth in order to help people to pause and take a break and think about how they can help out. How do we do that? So on this particular channel, I've shown a number of different ways, but the foundational impact, the thing that has changed my life, is that we are what we intake. We are what we consume. If we're constantly consuming things out of a can that are prepackaged without the exact same care that maybe our predecessors might have given to these quality ingredients, it's possible that we're taking on things that are negative for our health. And I can tell you this because even though I've continuously restarted this vegan challenge, I'm experiencing simultaneously some conditions where some of my relatives, some of my closest relatives, are only engaging with me in negative ways. They're rejecting gifts. They're rejecting the requests for help. They're rejecting the requests to communicate. They're rejecting the opportunities to hear an uplifting message. And in so doing, they're rejecting the energy that I'm putting out there. And if I'm putting out energy and it's going unheeded or disregarded, or worse yet, made fun of, or discounted, or discredited among others, then basically I've got a bleeding out situation. In order to stop bleeding out, first I have to figure out how do I strengthen myself in a way to where none of these other things matter. Well, let me tell you, when my relative burned down the house, that wasn't the worst of the things that they did that affected my health negatively. However, no matter what in this system, in my predicament, I had to grow through these challenges with this level of circumstance. Some might call it abuse. I'm going to just call it circumstance. Everything that happened grew me to the point where you are hearing what I'm saying and seeing what I'm talking about. Health is wealth. The foundational aspect of who we are is what we're consuming. If we're consuming nothing but filth, if we're consuming nothing but fast, processed ingredients, I won't even call them foods, we may be overlooking the fact that some of the nourishment that we used to get has been replaced with something other than wholesome and nourishing and fulfilling and rewarding. So today's September the 17th, I've lost 5 pounds. Over the next 2 weeks, up until the end of September, is how many more attempts I'll have to produce videos for the remainder of this year. I'm pretty much calling it quits. This is my 2-week notice. I'm giving you my 2-week notice and explaining for most of us who are no longer children with the metabolism of a raging fire, most of us who are no longer children at heart, and most of us in general who are operating in this world where we think we're so powerful because of the things we've surrounded ourselves with, even our vehicles. We think we're so powerful because we can get to some place. But when we get out of that transportation, how far can we get? What can we carry? What weight can we bear? I can bear a lot of weight. I've done it. I've shown it on this channel. I've backpacked. I've carried only what was necessary and my favorite instruments. And I was able to do so without much trouble, without much preparation time, just like a kid. And so the reason I'm producing all these things right now, I really want to call it quits here because this takes up time. As you can see, you're watching this, the amount of time it took to share this is how much time it took to just to record this, but imagine all of the other layers that go into this process. So if you're watching this video still, you haven't tuned out because you're finally not offended to the point where you can't hear what I'm saying, then you're going to hear the rest of what I'm saying, which is the way that I'm restoring my health, which you are watching right now and hopefully subscribing to, which you are watching right now, is by incorporating some of these methods. In order to take control of a situation, again, are we in control of ourselves? If somebody offends us with some kind of a notification, or they say a word the wrong way or something like that, do we carry the communication any further, or do we just stop and decide, I definitely don't ever want to talk with that person, they're worthless? That's a terrible word, by the way. Everything has value. It just depends on if we're grateful for it. But when people think that you're worthless, that energy channels through to them. That's the same as in praying to a dark force for somebody to fail, for somebody to be injured, for somebody to be harmed, for something that's not even occurred in them. That's like planting the seed of failure in someone's mind by continuously saying that, well, I've heard better. Your song is not all that unique or great. That's fine. Did you ever take the time to hear someone who was starting out? Like, let's say your own children. Did you ever take the time to understand that as your child grew, they were naturally blessed with a bountiful energy, running around, carrying things they didn't know that they couldn't carry, jumping distances they didn't know that they could jump, doing things that frankly were because they were performing those tasks with joy. Some of these tips and techniques that I'm going to list here occur naturally. Like, for an example, this 2-week notice is telling us that we need to exercise our demons. If we are constantly exposing our demons to strife and we allow those demons to engage in that strife, we're exercising our demons to engage in strife. If we're exercising our demons into humility, then what we're doing is giving those negative voices in our minds a chance to have a conversation. In this conversation, you're watching this video, you're either trying to learn how to get healthy and you're wondering, what the heck is this guy talking about? Or you're understanding that on this channel, I'm presenting you, myself, and the experience that I've had. Because I know there are other people just like myself who have had these troubles, and they're alone, frankly. And I know this because every step of the way where I've asked for help, I've been absolutely alone, except for I'm not alone. Does that make sense if you're thinking about it on a spiritual level, or does that offend you? There are some people who get offended at so many silly things. Like, sometimes I wear a variation of this pendant, which is made of a different material, and it's a sign of the past. In that sign of the past is a message that there was a bringer of peace who might have been nailed for talking about the things he was talking about. And in that representation, some people feel a little bit of agitation. Even this particular pendant that I have on right now, or even this shirt, or even this body, or even the long hair. There are so many things where we can offend one another, but we don't take into consideration who created that level of offense to begin with. Like, for an example, if we're exercising our demons during the holidays, you're watching this right now coming up on many holidays. If we're exercising our demons coming up on the holidays, we might do some things that are seemingly ritualistic if we really do the research during these next holiday months. Even the very act of shopping for the things that we're shopping for and continuously consuming the things that are made out of lesser and lesser quality materials and ingredients can be actively taking a toll on our health. So this is why I talk on this channel about fasting and prayer. Everything else is basically just talking about the situations that I've endured during my spiritual journey. In my spiritual journey, the attacks have been magnificent. The growth has been tremendous. The understanding has been pleasing. I don't feel starved for knowledge anymore. At this point, I feel overwhelmed with gratitude for all of the opportunity that I've had, including the opportunity to share with you, just like a child, songs that brought my heart some kind of peace, ideas about how to share things with one another that might bring us a smile to one another, and conversations that aren't always just to the point of, this is just pure sugar. I'm not spewing sugar at you. I'm basically giving you a foundational approach to how do I rebuild myself. If you're feeling at the rock bottom of everything, the first thing you want to do is figure out, is it a mental imbalance? It could be a mental imbalance because if we're not consuming the ingredients, the minerals, and the nutrients that come in real food, then we might have a real problem. Once we start doing that, as I've said, this is the 17th day of a successful 7-day vegan challenge, and I've lost 5 pounds. So over about 2 weeks, I've lost 5 pounds. So about 2.5 pounds a week. That's a reasonable pace to lose weight at. That's just by not consuming animal-based products. There are alternatives for all of the different things that we can enjoy. You can probably run to your favorite chain and recognize that even though these same things are for sale at some of the chains at a discount, it's not the same nutrients as what's included in the original unprocessed variation of the very food that we used to enjoy as children when we were joyful. Do you remember being joyful? If you don't, that's why you should be listening to this channel where I'm talking about exercising your demons. I've listed the top five strongly recommended exercises that we should be considering well into our old age. If you have hip flexor problems, if you have varicose veins, if you have back problems, if you have bladder control issues, if you have anxiety, if you have hypertension, if you have poor circulation due to diabetes-related circumstances, in almost every case, including type 2 diabetes, going vegan is a process that will immediately result in successful progress, where you're moving forward in your level to be energized so that you can do what you need to do to help one another. Isn't that what we're here for? To help one another? Why is it then when I ask for help, talking with our fathers, I'm met with comments that are totally unrelated to what it is that I'm talking about? I'm met with comments where if you read them sometimes, you can't even decipher what they're talking about. I start to wonder if all of the medication that some of our people are taking is not taking a toll, or if people are just naturally high right now, high on a lack of nutrients. People can get high from a lot of weird things. A lack of nutrients might cause up to and including hallucinations. So anyway, top 5 exercises as we advance in our age where we want to regain control of self-respect, respect ourselves. Squats, weights, brisk walk, lunges, and push-ups. Right now, I've started with squats. I'll hold weights in my hands and I'll do squats to balance me out. Not a lot of weight, but just what I can bear, what feels comfortable to me, which is about 15 pounds in each arm. So 30 pounds, I'm holding 30 pounds, doing a squat, holding the squat, coming back up. Lunges, I'm only able to do about 2 lunges. My balance was not that great as I started to do this. I recognized my core had grown weak. My core. Those of you who cannot do a sit-up or a push-up, right now your core is weak. You might need to exercise your demons. Going and performing these types of activities is something you might want to consider talking with your wellness advisor about. And also, you might want to incorporate it into your basic activities. Don't you need to, for an example, pick things up off the ground now and then? You might need to do a squat. Try to do a squat. See if you can balance yourself out. If you're elderly and infirm and your bones are brittle, start somewhere else. I'm not your channel to watch except for the fact that we're talking about spiritual growth. If you're already there and you're elderly and spiritually rewarded, you're not going to have this same circumstance. The power of joy is going to drive you to accomplish what you want to accomplish. If you want to visit that family that you've been avoiding visiting because the distance is too great and you have to go to the bathroom over and over, these are some of the things that you can bypass by learning to control and exercise yourself. Squats, weights. Right now I'm doing curls with 15 pounds. Nothing major, but I want to do it so that I can continuously do it throughout the day. I don't want to burn my arms out right now. I've started at a place where I know many of us can start at. I'm starting with 15. I'm relatively healthy. I'm active in many different ways. 15 pounds should be too light for me to start out with. But at the same time, it gives you an example to where it's like, well, maybe I should use 5 pounds, or maybe I can start with 20, or maybe I've already been doing 20 and I need to move up to 25. Whatever the case is, weights increase the strength of your bones. Weight training increases your muscle oxygenation levels, increases your muscle strength and capacity, increases your ability to pick up those things that you want to go shopping for anyway, right? During these upcoming ritualistic holidays, where we don't even talk with one another about our fathers, or even the peace bringers who those holidays are about, where we only share trees. We might want to have the strength to pick up those trees and put them in the house. Take the trees out of the addiction. Some of these things that we're doing are just basically addiction based. I love to go walking in nature, to find wildlife. Brisk walk, easily something I can do regularly. And in fact, that's the only thing that has kept me grounded throughout this process, where I'm being challenged to talk with my loved ones and to gain any results, where I'm asking for their help. Well, I'm taking all of the time I have, concentrating it into a point where it's like, if this person wanted to talk with me, they could talk with me. They have the opportunity. Other people have to make choices throughout time. That doesn't mean that we have to be stuck and fixed in place. As you've seen, I've traveled the nation without the assistance, without the guarantee that I would even have these people to talk with upon my return. And I'm not worried about it. Most children aren't, because we know as a child, this is what there is. Whether we're having a pleasant experience or a painful one, it's right here. It has to do with what's going on right now. If somebody falls on the playground and nobody notices, sometimes they don't cry. Sometimes when it's noticed, a person will cry. A child. Sometimes we need those levels of compassion in order to figure out, how do we keep someone from burning the house down? And I'm laughing because this isn't really funny. It's just more like, how many years has it taken for me to say this? How many ways has it taken for me to say this? I can only imagine what a bringer of peace in historic times might have encountered. They might have encountered a lot of adversity, a lot of struggle, a lot of pain, especially with all of the judges that are out there. There's only one judge, people, just so you know. Brisk walk is easy for me to do. Let's say that you needed to pretend something is chasing you. Pick up that pace, walk through the neighborhood like there's a zombie following you or something. Walk through there like you can shuffle just a little faster than the zombie so that you don't become a zombie yourself. Just a thought. Lunges. Lunges were the one that I had the most difficulty with, because basically I'm stepping forward and trying to keep my back leg straight, my feet pointing forward. That's basically simple balance. Balance has a lot to do with our core. My core is firming up, it's strengthening. You probably can see it on the video. It's probably pretty good looking to those of you who are just looking for the visual aesthetics of it. And then there's push-ups. Push-ups are one of those things where the more you take them on, the more easy they become, but you can also plateau because you get used to doing a certain number. How do you get past that plateau? If you can't even do one push-up yet, how do you get to the point where you can do one? Repetition is key. Form is important. But again, the core basis of who we are is what we consume. So if you're consuming anything that's detrimental to your health, unsubscribe. If you're consuming anything that is brought to you without love, you might want to unsubscribe or at least consider what's being received. If you're receiving things that are gifts that were intended with positive energy to restore balance in whatever, if you're receiving positive energy and refusing that, you might want to reconsider. You might want to see if you're exercising the wrong way. If you're strengthening your approach to something that might be insurmountable if you never recognized that you were going to be challenged in a certain way. There's this one fitness advisor that talks a lot about hanging from bars and being able to do it for at least 30 seconds as part of this well-being fitness plan. And I'm trying to do that myself. Hanging from a pull-up bar and doing pull-ups themselves has been quite a challenge to me. But again, we're midway through September. I'm just now going to start some of these things that I've only just barely been taking on. And for the next 2 weeks, I hope that you watch these videos knowing that I'm simultaneously pointing out some of the things that happened during August as well as during this month itself. I hope that you're paying attention to the dates that are on the subjects of the videos that you're watching. I hope that you're looking at the description now and again just to see if there's any kind of message, synchronicity that we're talking together about. I hope that you do something other than continuing to exercise poor judgment. Poor judgment is very obvious because it usually leads to poverty, illness, infirmity, lack of communication. Just because I'm not communicating with some of the people with whom I thought I would be communicating doesn't mean that I don't have rich communication. So today, I just wanted to give a quick update. This is a weekend update, and I already have videos posting every weekday throughout the end of the year, with a couple of exceptions that I'm going to fill in at that time. But at the end of this month, on Friday, two Fridays from now, that's going to be my last video. So I grew 2 weeks. I wanted to give you a 2-week notice, and I wanted to turn that around and show you and showcase a segment of success so that you can see what it looked like. What did it look like when someone was trying to do something that was positive? What did it sound like when someone was trying to communicate? Just with anyone out there who might need that communication. What did it sound like when someone gave a bit of their heart? These are things that haven't often been taught to us by our fathers. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I mean is, if I send an email to someone, trying to get the hair out of my eye, if I send an email to somebody and they can't respond to it, or if there's some kind of a glitch that prevents that response, and in that email I gave a response to their prior email that was asking something of me. And if I sent an email and I asked something in response and I got nothing in response, I don't quite understand how those kind of vampirisms can continue to exist in our society. And so for that reason, I wanted to again reiterate, if you're watching this video and you have not helped me talk with my family, then it's possible you're not my family. If you are my family and you're watching this video and you heard what I just said and it didn't make sense, listen to it again and again. Rewind it if you have to. Don't look at the scenery. Don't look at any of the things that that are in the subject line as something that you need to discuss. If I'm showing a video that has a turtle in it, the turtle might not matter. It might just be a funny way to pair a song that talks about going slower. If for any reason we're not listening to the words, we just might simply want to exercise our demons. So even though we've talked about 7-day vegan challenges, going vegan, and doing all these vegan things, don't forget, we are what we eat. We are what we consume. Till next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.